Hey everyone, Backyard Farmer Pat here. Today I'm in my sister's backyard and I am cleaning up my mother's bed. I just cleaned up this bed that I did for her in the spring. It was basically covered with weeds. As you can see here, there was literally a mountain of weeds. Her cassava that we planted last spring has gotten massive. I mean, you can see it's all the way up in the air right now, but not only that, but look at that branch. This branch is basically all the way down to the ground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably cut this branch and cut several pieces over. While I was cleaning up the bed, when I looked at it, cassava grows from the roots, and you can see here that this is a very big, healthy cassava that's growing underground. It's not quite ready yet, but you can see this big root here. You can see how wide it is. That big root is going to be a cassava, and I'm sure there are multiple other roots underground. This is a extremely big, very, very healthy looking cassava. I mean, this is where the branch goes. You can see how long this branch is. If I try to prop it up, it is probably about 10 feet tall. It's massive, it goes all the way up. Alright, so now that we've finished weeding the bed, so the only two things I'm leaving in the bed are the things that aren't ready to harvest. The cassava that we can harvest later. What we'll probably do is end up cutting it here and then, separating this into pieces that we can plant other places of the garden. And most likely, this cassava is going to end up in my property at Palm Bay because I'm going to have a wall of cassava. It's such a beautiful plant. I want to have cassava along one of my walls. I also left behind her ginger. If you look here, if you get a little closer, you can see where she has a ton of ginger growing here. So this ginger is probably close to being ready, but you're gonna harvest the ginger when you see it start drying up, and here it hasn't dried up yet, so we're gonna leave all the ginger behind. So then let's go ahead and move to the second bed. I think what I'm gonna do is take this and prop it up a little further up so I can work on the second bed. Right, so cleaned out both of the beds. I didn't come prepared to create the bed, so I just found things sitting around the garden. So my sister had a half bag of black cow manure. So since we're gonna refresh the soil, we can add some cow manure just to refresh it. If you have any organic, like any organic fertilizer, like a 646 or 555, you can add it to the bed just so that we can refresh the soil. It was very strange, but the black cow manure actually had a ton of roots. I've never seen manure with roots in the bag. There are a ton of roots, but I figured these roots will also break down and feed the soil. So I spread the cow manure in this bed. She also had a bag of garden soil, specially formulated for fruits, vegetables, and herbs. So that's perfect. My mom wants to grow mainly greens and vegetables here. So normally I love Kellogg's organic raised bed mix. It has a perfect mix of different manures and compost, but for now I'm going to use what I have. So let's add this on. It's very heavy. This one has been sitting in the garden forever, but it looks like it's good soil. You can see, look at this soil. You can see it's very good. You can tell when the soil is good. When you squeeze it together, it sits. It's very crumbly. It's really, really good soil. So I'm gonna spread this toward the garden. I've already spreaded the cow manure, so I'm gonna add this to it. I don't know if you noticed, while I was doing the video, while I was clearing the garden, I was sure to, when I pull the weeds, I pull the roots. If you leave a lot of roots in there, or if you just break off the top, then the roots are going to grow back, and before you know it, the bed is going to be covered with weeds. So as I was pulling up the weeds, I made sure to pull it up from the roots. So first, I put my cow manure. Now I put my soil in. If any weeds pop up in the next week or two, I can always easily see them and pull them out. So I'm spreading this. A good idea is to make sure you're mixing
mixing the old soil with the new soil. You can see when I first did this bed, I had probably a good 3 inches of mulch. The mulch is completely broken down and it's not now like almost like soil. So I'm gonna spread this out. When I did the bed, the soil level was all the way up to here, but as the time goes on, the soil becomes compacted. That's why it's good not to really step in beds. So I'm spreading this out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get maybe another 2 bags of Kellogg's organic mix. So the top layer is gonna be the really good soil. Kellogg's organic mix. Woo! All right. Woo. Oh my goodness, the soil is really moist. It's really, really good. I'm like creeping down underneath this massive cassava. This ginger, I can actually see the ginger peeping out. So this ginger is gonna be really great. But this garden expert soil, it smells so good. It smells like really good soil. All right, so we're gonna do this. Oh. What I'm gonna do next is get 2 bags of Kellogg's organic mix, organic raised bed mix. I'm gonna spread it on top. Then I'm gonna have a nice layer of mulch. My mom has already decided she wants callaloo, she wants collard greens, and she wants green beans. So I think I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna chop this cassava to just leave just this piece in. This piece is really getting in the way, so I'm gonna chop this and keep it for my garden. And then I'm gonna come right back and show you what the final bed looks like. This is gonna make a beautiful hedge at my new property. So I think I'm just gonna chop this. All right, so now with cassava, every single place where you see these little, where these leaves used to be, every single place here will form roots. And then, of course, every piece is gonna grow a cassava. So I'm just gonna chop this up. I'm gonna go ahead and chop this up offline. You only need like maybe 12-inch pieces to 18-inch pieces. I probably cut this up in like 18-inch pieces. And then this should probably be enough to cover probably like a 10-foot area of fence. All right, so it's the next day. It got a bit dark yesterday, so I decided to come back today to finish. So I got my Kellogg's raised bed potting mix, and I tell you, I absolutely love this. I've had really good experience with this. This has bat guano, which is really bat poop, poultry manure, which is chicken poop, and it has kelp meal, which is like seaweed. So it's very rich. It really is an awesome mix. I've had really good experience. What I'm gonna do is I got a bag of this organic handcrafted blend, Dr. Earth. I've never used this before, but I know Dr. Earth is a very good brand. So I'm gonna just lightly sprinkle this. I probably don't even need it, but I'm gonna lightly sprinkle it on the surface. Oops. You don't really need to add fertilizer for the seeds to germinate, but once the seeds germinate, they're gonna need a little extra nutrition. So I'm gonna lightly sprinkle this. And I decided I'm gonna also do the second bed. I put 1 bag of the Kellogg's garden soil on each. The Kellogg's raised bed soil. I put 1 bag of each to refresh the soil. I mix it in lightly, but the majority of the good soil is on top. So that should be a good start. And then what I'm gonna do, since I'm doing seeds, I don't want some of the seeds. I don't want the seeds to be washed away. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna soak the soil first, and then I'm gonna mulch, then I'm gonna put the seeds in. So you'll see. So first, now that I've done this, I'm gonna mix it in and soak the soil. So I'm just gonna use my hand, just lightly mix it in. Nothing fancy, nothing special. The wonderful thing about this, I'm using organic material, so organic fertilizer, so I don't have to worry about it burning the plants, or you know, when you use the chemical fertilizer, if you put too much, you can actually kill your plants. Here, everything is 100% organic, so there's nothing to hurt these plants, these seeds. All right, so let me soak this bed. Okay, so I've been soaking. I've been soaking the bed for a good probably 5 minutes now. What I want to do is make sure that the water goes all the way, not just on the surface, but soaks all the way down. Of course, I'm just planting seeds, so really, only the top surface really needs to be watered. But because I won't be here every day to water, I just want to make sure that the soil is very moist before I put a layer of mulch on. What the layer of mulch is going to do, if you can back up a little, what the layer of mulch is going to do is it's going to keep the moisture in, and it's going to keep, the seeds from just floating away. Whenever you pick mulch, always be sure to pick the mulch that is all natural, that doesn't have any like coloring. So sometimes you see the red mulch or the black mulch or the orange, or sometimes they even have yellow mulch. Those all have added color, and of course when you're trying to grow an organic garden, you don't want to have anything with color. This is a plain natural mulch. It's a cypress blend. I heard that eucalyptus blend is actually excellent, if you can find it. It's actually insect repellent. So if you can find eucalyptus blend, use it. I couldn't find this. This is the only natural one I could find at Home Depot today. So this is what I bought. Professional no float cypress blend. Alright, so I'm gonna put a light layer on the top to keep the moisture in. I'm not going to do it very heavily. And then what I'm going to do is put a channel where the seeds are going to be. I'm going to make a channel so that the seeds won't have to compete with the mulch to push through. So I'll be back in just a minute after I finish putting this down so you can see what it looks like. Alright, so here you can see I lightly spread some mulch across the top to keep the moisture in, and that's to keep the direct sun off it, because very easily the surface can dry up. And you can see where I put the holes where I'm going to put the seeds. So this is my mom's bed. Both of them are my mom's bed. So these are what she picked. She wanted some mustard green, she wanted some collards, and this is a giant red mustard green. I haven't tried that before, but I love my mustard. My mustards are awesome. And she absolutely loves cabbage. So remember, whenever we're planting seeds, we check the back to make sure that depending on where you are, that it's okay to plant the variety. So here you can see we're in South Florida, and it's good to plant from September to February, and right now we're in November, so that means it's good. When I checked on the collard greens was the only one that really you should plant it between February and March, or between July and August. So I'm not going to plant the collards this time. I'm going to plant it the next time around. But I think everything else here is good. We're a little behind on the garden beans, but I'm still going to plant them because we're in South Florida. It's warm like all year round anyway. So, it costs $1.69 for the whole packet of beans. It might cost me 20 cents worth of beans, so it's definitely worth, giving it a shot, because she really loves her beans. So I'm going to put some beans. So here's what I'm going to do. What I did was, so this bed has mulch, the other bed I didn't put mulch. I'm going to put the callaloo. It's extremely fine. This is actually the callaloo that we harvested from some previous callaloo that we grew. I also have, she didn't ask for this, but I also have a pumpkin seed, because this pumpkin I ate from the store, it was the most delicious pumpkin ever. So I have that pumpkin seed. So let's do some green beans first. So I'm gonna put one bean, and with these peas, you have to be, or beans, any seed, you have to be very careful not to plant it too deep. So I'm just gonna put it right below the surface and lightly cover it. So I'm putting a bean in each one, lightly covering it. And when these grow, you can even leave a few on there. It really doesn't cost anything. You can leave a few on there and get some more beans if you don't have a good crop. So the soil is already wet, already very, very wet, because I watered it. And here we go. So it's as simple as that. I noticed that there are some other seeds here. I'm not sure what these are. I might just throw them in. Let's see what these are. I'm gonna throw these in one hole, these three. And let me just find another little spot for this. So if you're not sure, you know, how to pick your seeds, I have a seed starting mix, a seed starting series. I can show you, that shows you exactly how to pick the seeds, which seeds to plant, what the season is, sun, no sun, and all that. So be sure to, I'll put a link right above here so you can see it. So next we're gonna put some mustard greens. So I'm gonna, because usually I like to start my seeds in a seed starting tray, but this time I'm gonna direct sow. So when you direct sow, they don't, you can separate them as they grow. So I'm gonna put maybe 3 seeds. We already have some other things in that hole, so I'm just gonna put like 3 or 4 seeds per hole, and as they grow we'll separate them. And then lightly cover them with dirt, lightly cover them, just very lightly. And with these seeds, mustard greens are extremely small, so you literally just lightly, very lightly cover them. Because if they go too deep, they will just die, they won't grow. So very lightly, make sure there's a few per hole, and just literally put a light dust of soil over them. So that's for this bed, and I'm gonna put the rest of my mustard seeds. I love these mustards. You guys go back and check out my videos of when I grew them in my other garden. These get massive. I'm gonna put some over here because this doesn't have any. This bed is just gonna be like a freestyle. I'm gonna put a little trench here. I'm just gonna lightly sprinkle some mustards here. And that's literally, this is all we have to do. Not much for this, because the seeds are, when the seeds are that small, there's not much to do. So that's enough here. Gonna plant my callaloo, my mom's callaloo. So we have regular mustard. We did these seeds. We're not doing the collards. We're gonna do some giant red, some cabbage, and the callaloo. And her pumpkin seed. For the pumpkin seed, pumpkins run all over the place. So I'm gonna put a pumpkin seed at the edge so that way it can run that way, and it will get all the lights. It will get a little shade from the apple tree, but it will get all the lights. So I'm gonna put the pumpkin seed at the end. So her pumpkin seed is going right here, and she doesn't know that I planted the pumpkin seed, so she's gonna be very happy when she sees that pumpkin vine. And those seeds are extremely fertile. I planted 2 or 3 at my other property, and they took off like right away, so she'll soon see those. So I have my green mustard greens right there. I'm gonna do some callaloo on this side, and my mom really loves callaloo. One thing about callaloo, it grows almost like a weed. Once you plant it, the seeds blow all over the place, and they always grow back. So I'm gonna sprinkle some callaloo seeds. Sprinkle it. And then I'm gonna lightly. Yeah, your ginger's looking good, Mom. Yes. The lady at the hour is coming out to check on her plants, on her ginger. Yes. Okay, so this is the red mustard. Oops, gonna plant this next. And you might be saying, hey, this area looks really shady. So a lot of these greens can grow well in shade, and plus in the morning this bed gets a good amount of sun, and morning sun is really good for veggies. So we got her mustard green, and so we got the 2 mustard greens, and finally we're gonna put some cabbage in. And as these sprout, she can, you know, move them around. She can harvest some. She can, you know, she can do a cut and come again where she eats just the outer leaves and then allows it to continue growing. So this is the last part with some cabbage seeds, lightly sprinkled. And I'm gonna do the same thing, just lightly spread it in. You see, I'm being careful not to step in the bed. Once you've created your bed and you put your good soil in, you don't want to step on the bed. You don't want to compact it, anything. What I'll do next is I'm gonna just lightly water it again. So we already watered the soil before we planted them, but after we plant the seeds, and you don't gotta put it on a jet force. You gotta do it on a light, almost like a rain shower. Just a light rain shower force. And as you can notice, the soil is below the edge of the wood. So even if we get a good rain, the seeds won't wash away. But what I'm gonna do is I let half a bag of the mulch. So as these sprout over the next maybe week to 2 weeks, they're gonna start sprouting. As they sprout, I will go back over it and lightly cover the mulch to keep the moisture in. But I wanted to show you both ways, because most people, they don't mulch, but I personally do always mulch my beds, my garden beds. The only time I don't mulch it is if like I'm planting like sweet potatoes, because the sweet potatoes, as they spread, the leaves cover the soil, and that's almost like a natural mulch. So if there's a lot of weeds coming up, or there's a lot of soil erosion, because the sweet potatoes spread and they cover the soil. Alright, so I'm lightly watering this. It's good and ready. Lightly water this bed also. Make sure I get all the holes that I planted in. And then, you know, I'll check back in a few weeks to see how both beds are doing. But guys, thank you so much for watching today. You know, let's go out and plant a seed today. I can tell you, everything that my mom is gonna reap here is infinitely more nutritious and more delicious than anything you could possibly buy in the store. It doesn't cost much. It's a couple bags of soil, and from each of these seeds that I plant, I'm gonna get a ton of food. So we'll probably get $100 or a couple $100 worth of food just from a few seeds planted today. So guys, go out, plant a seed today. Let's plant, grow, and eat together. Don't forget to share what you grow, and don't forget to share these videos. Till next time, bye now.